Good afternoon, Captain McPhillips. I'm Cadet June, and today I will be presenting you the Space Force expansion proposal. If you go on to the next slide, here's my overview. I'm going to be going over the Space Force, what it is, who's in charge of it, as well as this mission statement. Resources dwindling, expansion, constant growth, those all will be explained when I get to those slides, as well as my references. So, the Space Force, it was established December 20th, 2019. We all remember that. We all were alive for that. And currently, it is overseen by the Secretary of the Air Force, the Honorable Barbara M. Barrett, Secretary of Defense, the Honorable Dr. Mark T. Esper, as well as the inaugural Chief of Space Operations, or CSO, General John W. Raymond. And its mission statement, and pay attention to this because I will come back to this later on in my other slides. It is to organize, train, and equip space forces in order to protect U.S. and allied interests in space and to provide space capabilities to the joint forces. Their responsibilities include developing military space professionals, acquiring military space systems, maturing the military doctrine for space power, and organizing the space forces to present to our combatant commands. So as you go on to the next slide, I mentioned resources dwindling. Now you might be wondering, what does this have to do with the Space Force? Well, the Space Force, of course, deals with space, and we are here on Earth. And we have resources that are starting to go away that we all need to survive. But before I go into that resource, did you know that there are about 7.71 billion people on the planet Earth, according to the Worldometer? Now, that number, of course, is always rising. And with that number always rising, there comes the issue with people not being able to live comfortably, aka having to live on top of each other and constantly growing, rising apartments, other things like that. If you look on the news, if you look around the world, that is an increasing issue, overpopulation. Now, with that overpopulation, water, which is our most essential resource, is starting to go away because really there isn't a lot of fresh water on this planet Earth that we have access to. And actually, according to the Bureau of Reclamation, 71% of the Earth's surface is covered by water. However, only 3% of that water is fresh. And of that 3%, 0.05%, correction please, 0.5% of that water is available to us because the rest of that fresh water is locked up in glaciers, polar ice caps, atmosphere and soil, is highly polluted, and or it lies too far under the Earth's surface to be extracted at an affordable cost. And we all know how we love to save money. So as you go on to the next slide, this is where the Space Force comes in. We need to expand the responsibilities of the Space Force. The Space Force is more in tune with defense as of right now and basically defending what we can against other countries within our own atmosphere. However, why not think outside of the box? Why not look for ways to be able to improve the living conditions on our planet while also discovering different things on other planets that won't immediately affect us? And what do I mean by that? Well, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's website, evidence points to water being on other planets within our solar system. NASA has even confirmed that liquid water flows intermittently on Mars and also on one of Saturn's moons, as well as Jupiter's moons. There is a global ocean beneath the icy crust of the Enceladus, as well as Europa, which belongs to Jupiter. And as you go on to the next slide, America always looks to stay ahead of the curve. So with America being in the forefront and utilizing their already established Space Force, the U.S. we as a U.S. military could be the number one leading force out in space where no man has been known to go to. You know, that as far as we know, the public. And if you look at my slide, I added on an extra section to the mission statement that I spoke about earlier that the Space Force has on its official website. However, I added in my own part that I feel could basically represent what the Space Force can be if they decide to go along with my proposal here. On to the next slide, which is my summary. In my briefing today, I went over the Space Force, the resources dwindling, expansion, constant growth, as well as my references, which are in the following slide. This concludes my briefing. If you have any questions, my email is available. Thank you.